The Great Hall of Harmony Prime was filled with beings from across the galaxy. Thousands of representatives sat in curved rows that rose high toward a ceiling made of living crystal. The crystal changed colors based on the mood of the room, and right now it glowed a curious shade of orange. Everyone was watching the entrance. The humans had finally arrived. Hi. Delegate Vorn clicked his mandibles together in what his species considered a laugh. He stood over 3 meters tall, his body covered in hard black plates like armor. Behind him, 4 Kelix guards held plasma rifles that hummed with deadly energy. Every species in the Senate had brought armed guards. It was tradition. It was common sense. The galaxy was a dangerous place. Only fools walked into it without protection. The doors slid open, and the human delegation stepped through. Ambassador Quan Minho walked at the front. He was a small man with gray hair and kind eyes. He wore a simple dark suit and carried nothing but a tablet. Behind him came 6 guards in black uniforms. The guards carried no weapons. Vorn's compound eyes scanned them carefully. No plasma rifles. No energy blades. No personal shields. Not even the simple projectile weapons that primitive species sometimes used. The humans wore only cloth and walked with their hands. Empty at their sides, the orange glow of the ceiling shifted toward yellow. Confusion spread through the assembly. Is this some kind of joke? Vorn's voice boomed across the hall. His translator device converted his clicks and hisses into words that everyone could understand. The humans send their first delegation to the Galactic Senate, and they bring guards without weapons? Ambassador Quan stopped walking. He looked up at Vorn with a patient expression, like a teacher waiting for a student to finish asking a question. Our guards carry everything they need, Quan said simply. Laughter erupted from several sections of the hall. The Reth Collective, a group of tall reptilian beings with scaled skin and sharp teeth, hissed their amusement. The Malari, floating jellyfish-like creatures. Pulsed with colors that indicated mockery, Captain Park Taiho, the leader of the human guards, did not react to the laughter. He stood perfectly still beside his ambassador. His face showed nothing. His eyes moved slowly across the room, taking in every detail, every guard, every weapon. Then he returned to stillness. It was the stillness that made Advisor Pela. Uncomfortable Tella served as the Senate's chief security analyst. Her species, the Veth, lived in water and communicated through telepathy. She floated in a special tank that followed her wherever she went. Her body was soft and silver, with dozens of thin tentacles that helped her sense the thoughts of others. She had scanned every delegation that entered the hall. She knew the fears of the Kelix guards. She knew the pride of the Reth warriors. She knew the boredom of the Malari observers. But when she reached toward the humans, she found something strange. Their surface thoughts were normal. The ambassador was thinking about his opening speech. One of the guards was hungry. Another was thinking about someone back home on Earth. But beneath those surface thoughts, there was something else. Something vast, something that felt like standing at the edge of a deep ocean and knowing that massive creatures swam in the darkness below. Pela pulled back from the human mind so quickly that her tank wobbled. "Is something wrong, Advisor?" asked the Malari representative beside her. Pela led. "Everything is fine." But everything was not fine. Pela had touched thousands of minds in her long life. She had felt the thoughts of killers, of saints, of beings so alien that their minds were like storms of lightning. She had never felt anything like what lurked beneath the calm surface of those human guards. The ceremony continued. Ambassador Quan was given a seat in the lower section of the hall, as was proper for a new species. He would have to prove humanity's worth before they could rise to higher positions. He accepted this with grace. During a break in the proceedings, High Delegate Vorn approached the human delegation. His guards followed close behind, their weapons ready. It was not quite a threat, but it was close. "I have a question for you, Captain," Vorn said to Taiho. "I've studied your species. You are soft. You have no natural armor. No claws, no venom. Your homeworld is full of predators that could kill you easily, and yet you come here to the most politically dangerous place in the galaxy, without weapons." He leaned down, bringing his face close to Taiho's. "Are you stupid, or do you simply wish to die?" Taiho looked up at the massive insectoid. His expression remained calm. "We are not stupid," he said, "and we do not wish to die. Then explain yourself. How can you protect your ambassador with empty hands?" Lieutenant Yunhena, the second in command of the guards, stepped forward. She was young, perhaps 30 years old by human counting. But there was something in her eyes that seemed much older. "We can protect him," she said. "That is all you need to know." Vorn made a sound of disgust. "Arrogance. Your species has been traveling between stars for less than 200 years. We have ruled our sector for 10,000. You know nothing of the dangers that exist in this galaxy?" Ambassador Quan said gently, "but we are eager to learn. That is why we are here." Vorn stared at them for a long moment. Then he turned and walked away, his guards following. Later that night, Pela floated in her quarters and tried to understand what she had sensed. She replayed the memory again and again. The human captain standing still, the human lieutenant with old eyes and a young face, the vast darkness swimming beneath their thoughts. What were these creatures? She had heard the stories, of course. Every species had heard them. Humans were newcomers. They came from a small blue planet in an unremarkable system. They had only recently developed faster-than-light travel. They were weak, short-lived, and fragile. But Pela had touched their minds. And she knew that the stories were wrong. The humans were hiding something. Something big enough to make weapons unnecessary. Something that Pela could not identify but could feel pressing against. Her thoughts like a weight. She did not sleep that night. Instead, she began searching through ancient records, looking for any mention of a species that carried such terrible potential inside them. She found nothing, but deep in her heart, she knew the truth. The humans had not come to the Senate unarmed because they were foolish. They had come unarmed because they did not need weapons, and that thought terrified her more than anything else. 3 days passed on Harmony Prime. The diplomatic negotiations were not going well. The Kelix Dominion accused the Reth Collective of moving warships into neutral space. The Reth Collective accused the Kelix of destroying a civilian transport. Both sides had evidence. Both sides were angry. The sealing crystal in the Great Hall had turned a deep, dangerous red dot. Ambassador Quan watched the arguments with concern on his face. He had come here hoping to build friendships. Instead, he was watching two empires move closer to war. "This is bad," he said quietly to Captain Taiho. Taiho nodded but said nothing. His eyes were fixed on the Reth delegation. Something was wrong there. He could feel it. The leader of the Reth delegation was a massive reptilian named Warlord Drath. He was not like the other diplomats. While they argued and shouted, Drath sat in silence. His yellow eyes moved slowly across the room, studying everyone. When those eyes passed over the human delegation, they stopped. Drath was interested in them. That was not good. The arguments grew louder. A Kelix representative slammed his armored fist on the table. A Reth warrior stood up and drew an energy blade. Guards from both sides raised their weapons. For a moment, it seemed like the fighting would start right there in the Senate chamber. Then Captain Taiho stood up. He did not reach for a weapon. He did not shout. He simply walked forward and placed himself between the two groups. He stood there in his black uniform with his empty hands at his sides. "Please," he said. His voice was calm. "This is not the place for violence." Kelix representative laughed. "And what will you do to stop us, human? Ask us nicely?" Taiho did not answer. He simply stood there. Something strange happened. The Kelix representative found that he could not move forward. His body simply would not obey him. The Reth warrior felt the same thing. It was as if the air itself had become thick and heavy around them. The moment passed quickly. The two species stepped back from each other. The crisis was over, at least for now. But Warlord Drath had seen something interesting. The human captain had done something. Drath did not know what, but he intended to find out. Later that day, Commander Beak Sora arrived on Harmony Prime. She was a human military officer, tall and serious with short black hair. She brought news from Earth. "We have intelligence," she told Ambassador Quan in their private quarters. "There are assassins on this station. Multiple targets. We believe you are one of them." Quan's face went pale. "Who sent them? We don't know yet. But they are professionals. Well armed and well trained." Captain Taiho stood by the window, looking out at the stars. "We will handle it," he said. Commander Sora shook her head. "The Senate is offering additional security. Armed guards from neutral species. I think you should accept." "No," Taiho said. "Additional guards will only complicate things. We are enough." Sora stared at him. 6 unarmed people against professional assassins? Yes. There was something in Taiho's voice that ended the argument. Sora had heard stories about the diplomatic guards. She knew they were special, but she did not know the full truth. Very few people did. That night, Advisor Pela could not sleep. She found herself swimming through the station's water channels, trying to clear her mind. She ended up outside the human quarters. Lieutenant Yoon Hannah was sitting alone in a small garden area. She was looking at a plant from Earth, something with small white flowers. Her face was sad. Pela floated closer. "May I join you?" Hannah looked up. She did not seem surprised. "Of course." They sat together in silence for a while. The station hummed softly around them. Finally, Pela spoke. "What are you?" Hannah smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "We are human." "No. I touched your mind 3 days ago. I felt something there. Something vast and terrible. What are you hiding?" Hannah was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft. "Our ancestors made a choice long ago. We carry the consequences in our blood. That is not an answer. It is the only answer I can give you." Pela felt frustrated. She was used to reading minds, to knowing secrets. The humans were like locked doors. "Could report you," she said. "Tell the Senate that you are hiding something dangerous." Hannah shook her head. "You could, but you won't." "How do you know?" "Because you are afraid. And you are smart. You know that exposing us would not make you safer. It would only make things more complicated." Pela had no response to that. Because it was true. Far away in a hidden part of the station, Warlord Drath was meeting with his assassins. There were 12 of them, all veterans, all carrying the best weapons money could buy. "The humans are the weak point," Drath said. "No weapons, no armor. Easy targets. We kill their ambassador, and we blame the Kellics. War begins. In the chaos, we take what we want." One of the assassins, a scarred female with cybernetic eyes, nodded. "When do we move?" "Tomorrow night. First, we test the station's security. Attack one of the smaller delegations. See how the guards respond." The test attack happened at midnight. The assassins struck a minor trading delegation from a peaceful world. They killed 4 guards and wounded 2 diplomats. Before disappearing into the station's maintenance tunnels, the Senate went into emergency session. Fear spread through the delegations. Guards doubled their patrols. Ambassador Quan received an urgent message from the Senate Council. They were assigning additional security to all delegations. He must accept. Quan looked at Taiho. "What should I do?" "Decline," Taiho said. "Politely. Tell them we appreciate the offer, but we have our own security measures. They will think we are crazy." "I hope." Omo smiled. "Let them." When Quan sent his refusal, the other delegations were shocked. The humans were either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Most assumed the second Drath was pleased. The humans had made his job easier. Tomorrow night, his assassins would strike the undefended delegation. They would kill the ambassador and his pathetic guards, and then the galaxy would burn. He had no idea what was waiting for him. Sergeant Choi Dongwoo was the youngest member of Taiho's team. He was 25 years old, with a friendly face and easy smile. That night, while the other guards prepared for the coming attack, he sat in the common room playing a game on his tablet. "You should rest," Hannah told him. Dongwoo shrugged. "I'm not tired. You know they're coming tonight." "I know." He looked up at her with eyes that suddenly seemed much older than 25. I've been waiting for this moment my whole life. The moment when I finally get to show what we really are. Hannah sat down beside him. Don't enjoy it too much. I won't. But I won't apologize for it either. He paused. The galaxy laughs at us. They think we're weak. Tonight, they learn the truth. Hannah nodded slowly. She understood. They all did. The humans had spent 200 years hiding their true nature. 200 years of pretending to be normal. 200 years of watching other species look down on them tonight. The hiding would end, and the galaxy would never see humans the same way again. The station clock showed midnight when the assassins came. They moved through the maintenance tunnels like shadows. 12 killers armed with plasma rifles, energy blades, and enough explosives to destroy half the residential wing. They had studied the human quarters carefully. They knew every entrance, every window, every possible escape route. This would be easy. The humans had no weapons, no guards worth mentioning, no defenses. It would be like killing sleeping children. The leader of the assassination team was named Crix. She had killed hundreds of targets across the galaxy. She had never failed a mission. Tonight would be no different. They reached the outer door of the human quarters. Crix used a hacking device to bypass the lock. The door slid open silently. The team moved inside. The common room was dark, except for a single lamp. A man sat alone at a table, holding a cup of tea. Captain Park Tai-ho looked up at the 12 armed killers who had just invaded his home. He did not look afraid. He looked sad. You should leave, he said quietly. This won't end the way you think, Crix laughed. The sound was harsh in the silent room. We have 12 guns, and you have a cup of tea. I think I know exactly how this ends, Tai-ho sighed. He set down his cup. I tried to warn you. Crix raised her plasma rifle and fired. The bolt of superheated energy flew straight toward Tai-ho's chest. It should have burned a hole through him. It should have killed him instantly. Instead, the bolt curved. It bent around Tai-ho like water flowing around a stone. It struck the wall behind him and left a smoking crater. Crix stared. Her cybernetic eyes recorded what had happened, but her brain refused to accept it. Plasma bolts did not curve. They traveled in straight lines. That was physics. That was reality, what she started to say. Tai-ho stood up. His eyes had changed. The pupils had expanded into strange geometric shapes, patterns that should not exist in living tissue. A faint glow began to spread beneath his skin, like light shining through thin paper. I told you to leave, he said. His voice echoed strangely, as if multiple people were speaking at once. You chose not to listen. The other assassins opened fire. 12 weapons unleashed a storm of plasma bolts, energy beams, and explosive rounds. The air filled with light and heat and death. None of it touched Tai-ho. He moved, but it was wrong. It was not speed. It was something else. Space itself seemed to fold around him. The weapon's fire passed through where he should have been. But he was always somewhere else. Then the other humans appeared. Lieutenant Yoon Hannah stepped out of the shadows. Her eyes glowed with the same impossible light as Tai-ho's. Sergeant Choi Dong-woo emerged from a doorway that had been empty a moment before. The other guards materialized around the room, surrounding the assassins. None of them carried weapons. They did not need to. Hannah raised her hand toward one of the assassins. She did not touch him. She simply reached in his direction. The assassin's body lifted off the ground. His weapons fell from his hands. He hung in the air, struggling, unable to move. What are you? He screamed. Hannah did not answer. She closed her hand, and the assassin went limp, unconscious before he hit the ground. Dong-woo was smiling. He walked toward a group of 3 assassins who were firing at him desperately. The plasma bolts passed through his body without leaving a mark. He was there but also not there, existing in a state that the weapons could not touch. He spoke a single word. The assassins did not understand the language. It was older than their species, older than their civilization, older than the stars themselves. But they understood its meaning. Sleep. They collapsed. Crix watched her team fall one by one. The humans were not fighting. They were not even trying. They were simply ending the threat with the casual ease of adults taking toys from children. She turned to run. She made it 3 steps before she found Taiho standing in front of her. He had not moved. He had simply appeared. "Why?" he asked. "Why attack us? What did you hope to gain?" Crix's mouth opened, but no words came out. Her translator device was malfunctioning. Her cybernetic eyes were overloading with data they could not process. Everything she knew about the universe was falling apart. "Warlord Drath," she finally managed to say. "He sent us. He wanted to start a war." Taiho nodded slowly. "Thank you for telling me." He touched her forehead with one finger. She felt a warmth spread through her brain, and then everything went dark. When she woke up, she was lying on the floor of the common room. The other assassins lay around her, all unconscious but alive. The human guards sat nearby, drinking tea and talking quietly among themselves. Station security arrived minutes later. They burst through the door with weapons ready, expecting to find a bloodbath. Instead, they found Ambassador Quan sitting in a chair reading a book, while his guards served tea to a room full of unconscious assassins. "Ah, good," Quan said pleasantly. "You're here. These people tried to kill us. We subdued them. I believe this one is the leader." He pointed at Crix. She mentioned someone named Warlord Drath. The security officers stared at the scene. One of them noticed something strange. The window behind Taiho had a plasma crater in it, but as they watched, the crater was disappearing. The molecules of the glass were rebuilding themselves, crawling back into place like living things. Taiho saw them watching. He shrugged apologetically. "Sorry, I'll stop." The window went still, half-dash repaired. Advisor Pela arrived with the security team. She floated in her tank, her tentacles pressed against the glass. She looked at Taiho, at his eyes that were slowly returning to normal, at his skin that was fading back to ordinary human color. "Now I understand," she said quietly. "Now I know what you are." Taiho met her gaze. "And what are we?" Pela's voice was barely a whisper. "You are not hiding weapons. You are weapons. Your entire species, every single one of you. Weapons wearing the shape of people. Eh?" Taiho shook his head. "No. We are people who carry the potential for great destruction. There is a difference. Is there? Yes. A weapon has no choice. It does what it is designed to do. We choose. Every day, every moment, we choose to be peaceful. We choose to use our gifts for protection instead of conquest. That choice is what makes us human." Pela was silent for a long moment. Then she asked the question that terrified her most. "What happens when you stop choosing peace?" Taiho did not answer. He did not need to. They both knew, if humans ever stopped choosing peace, the galaxy would burn. The security officers took the assassins away. The human delegation was left alone in their damaged quarters. Quan finally put down his book and looked at his guards. "That could have gone worse," he said. Hannah laughed softly. "It could have gone better. Now everyone will know." "Yes," Quan agreed. "The secret is out. Tomorrow, the galaxy will demand answers." Taiho walked to the half-repaired window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, Warlord Drath was waiting. Somewhere out there, billions of beings would soon learn the truth about humanity. "Then we give them answers," Taiho said. "We tell them what we are and why we chose peace. And we pray they understand. And if they don't?" Dongwu asked. Taiho turned to face his team. His eyes were human again, but the weight of responsibility still showed in them. "Then we pray harder." The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. By morning, every species knew what had happened on Harmony Prime. The videos from Crix's cybernetic eyes had been downloaded before her capture. They showed everything. The plasma bolts curving around Captain Taiho, the humans moving through space like ghosts. The impossible power that had defeated 12 trained killers without a single weapon. The Galactic. Security Council called an emergency session. All 12 of the galaxy's most powerful species sent their representatives. The ceiling crystal in the Great Hall burned an angry red that refused to change. Hi. Delegate Vorn stood at the center of the chamber. His voice shook with fury and fear. The humans have lied to us, he roared. They pretended to be weak and harmless while hiding weapons beyond anything we have ever seen. They are a threat to every civilization in the galaxy. Shouts of agreement rose from the assembled delegates. The Reth Collective demanded immediate action. The Malari called for Earth's quarantine. Some even spoke of destroying humanity before they could become more powerful. Ambassador? Quan sat quietly through the accusations. Captain Taiho stood behind him, still as stone. They waited for the anger to burn itself out. Finally, the council chair called for order. She was an ancient being named Morva, older than most civilizations. Her body a collection of floating crystals that spoke directly into the minds of those around her. The human delegation will now respond, Morva announced. Ambassador Quan, your species stands accused of deception. What do you say? Quan stood slowly. He was just a small, old man in a room full of giants and monsters and beings of unimaginable power. But he did not seem afraid. We did not lie, he said. We simply did not tell you everything. There is a difference. The result is the same. Vorn snapped. You hid your true nature from us. Yes. And I will explain why. But first, I would like to introduce someone. Quan gestured toward the entrance. Dr. Nam Hyeri is one of Earth's leading scientists. She has studied our condition her entire life. She can explain better than I can. A woman walked into the chamber. She was middle-aged, with tired eyes and gray streaks in her black hair. She carried a small device that projected images into the air above her. Thank you, Ambassador, Dr. Nam said. Her voice was calm, the voice of someone who had practiced this speech many times. What I am about to tell you will change your understanding of galactic history. Please listen carefully. She activated her device. A holographic image appeared, showing a galaxy map covered in glowing lines. Approximately 200,000 years ago, this galaxy was ruled by a species we call the Architects. They were incredibly advanced, far beyond anything that exists today. They created faster-than-light travel. They built structures that could survive the death of stars. And they understood the fundamental nature of reality itself. The image changed to show ancient ruins floating in space. The Architects created life. They seeded hundreds of worlds with intelligent species, each designed for a specific purpose. The Kellics were built to be soldiers. The Reth were designed as builders. The Malari were made to be explorers. Each species was a tool in the Architect's grand design. Vorn's mandibles clicked angrily. You claim we were created? That is an insult. It is history, Dr. Nam replied calmly. I have evidence. Ancient genetic markers that appear in every species here. Building instructions encoded in your DNA that only the Architects could have written. She let that sink in for a moment before continuing. The Architects knew that someday they would die. All civilizations do. They worried about what would happen after they were gone. What if their creations turned on each other? What if some external threat emerged? Who would protect the galaxy? The holographic image changed again. Now it showed a small blue planet. Earth, a backwater world in an unremarkable system. This is where the Architects created their final experiment. A fail-safe species. US. The chamber was silent. The Architects encoded their entire technological knowledge into human DNA. Not as information we could read, but as potential we could become. Under normal circumstances, humans are exactly what we appear to be. Weak, fragile, short-lived creatures who struggle to survive. Dr. Nam's expression grew serious. But when a human faces extreme stress, extreme trauma, or certain genetic triggers, something happens. We call it awakening. The hidden potential inside us activates. We gain abilities that should be impossible. Telekinesis, energy manipulation, matter reconstruction. In extreme cases, limited control over reality itself. Looked around the room at the horrified faces watching her. The Architects designed us as the galaxy's last line of defense. If everything else failed, if all their other creations fell, humans would awaken and protect what remained. "This is madness," one of the Reth representatives said. "You expect us to believe that humans are some kind of cosmic safety system?" "I expect you to believe the evidence of your own eyes," Dr. Nam said. "You saw what Captain Tai-Ho and his team did to those assassins? That was not technology. That was not a trick. That was human potential made real." Captain Tai-Ho stepped forward. Every eye in the chamber turned to him. "Dr. Nam speaks the truth," he said. "I awakened when I was 16 years old. A transport ship I was on suffered catastrophic failure. Everyone was going to die. Something inside me activated. I held the ship together with my mind until rescue arrived." His eyes shifted slightly, showing just a hint of the geometric patterns that appeared during his transformation. "There are approximately 10,000 awakened humans alive today. We are carefully monitored and trained. We serve as guards, as rescue workers, as the last defense against threats too powerful for normal weapons. We do not seek war. We do not want conquest. We only want to protect. And what of the others?" Morva asked. Her crystal voice was gentle but probing. "What of the billions of humans who have not awakened?" Tai-Ho's face became very serious. "They carry the same potential. Every human being has the architect's gift sleeping inside them. Under the right circumstances, any of us could awaken." The implication hit the chamber like a physical blow. 8 billion humans on Earth. Billions more spread across human colonies. If they all awakened at once, there would be no force in the galaxy that could stop them. "This is why we come unarmed," Tai-Ho continued. "We carry no weapons because we do not need them. We arrive in peace because we truly want peace. The absence of weapons in our hands is our promise to you. It shows that we trust you, and we hope you will trust us in return." High Delegate Vorn's voice was quieter now, stripped of anger and filled with fear. "And what happens if you decide not to come in peace? What happens if humanity turns against us?" Tai-Ho met his gaze without flinching. "Then the galaxy ends. Billions of awakened humans, all fighting for survival, would tear reality apart. Stars would die. Worlds would burn. Everything the architects created would be destroyed." He paused. "That is why we will never make that choice. We know what we are capable of. We have seen the simulations, run the calculations, imagined the horror. We choose peace not because we are weak, but because we understand the alternative. We are the galaxy's failsafe, but we are also its greatest potential danger. We carry that burden every single day." The chamber was silent for a long time. The ceiling crystal slowly shifted from red to purple to a deep, thoughtful blue. Finally, Ambassador Quan spoke again. "We kept our secret because we were afraid. Afraid of how you would react. Afraid you would see us as monsters instead of people. We did not want war. We did not want fear. We only wanted to live among you as equals." He looked around the room at the assembled delegates. "Now you know the truth. What you do with that knowledge is up to you. We hope you choose understanding. We hope you choose peace. But whatever you decide, know this: humanity will never strike first. We will never use our power for conquest. We will defend ourselves if attacked, but we will always, always offer mercy first." He sat down. The debate that followed lasted for hours. Fear battled against logic. Hatred fought with understanding. In the end, it came down to a simple calculation. If humanity wanted to destroy them, they could. There was no defense against awakened humans, no weapon that could stop them. The only protection the galaxy had was humanity's choice to be peaceful, and so far, humans had kept that promise. The vote was close, but it passed. Humanity would remain in the Galactic Senate. They would be watched, monitored, and treated with caution. But they would not be attacked. It was not trust. It was not friendship. But it was a beginning. Outside the chamber, Visor Pela approached Captain Tai-Ho. Her tank floated beside him as he walked down the corridor. "Do you really believe it?" she asked. "That humans will always choose peace?" Tai-Ho was quiet for a moment. "I believe we will try," he said finally. "Every day, every hour, every moment, we will try to be worthy of the power we carry. That is all anyone can promise. Mela nodded slowly. I suppose that will have to be enough, as Taiho agreed. It will have to be. 1 month passed. The galaxy slowly adjusted to the truth about humanity. Some species treated humans with new respect. Others kept their distance, afraid of what might happen if they gave offense. Trade continued. Diplomacy continued. Life continued, as it always did. But Warlord Dreth had not given up. His assassination attempt had failed. His assassins were in prison. His plan to start a war between the Kellics and the Reth had collapsed. He was wanted throughout the galaxy, forced to hide in the dark spaces between stars. But Drath was patient, and he had one more card to play. Deep in a dead system, far from any living world, there was a secret. An ancient structure orbited a burned-out star. It was the size of a small moon, covered in symbols that no living species could read. The architects had built it 200,000 years ago. It was a weapon. Drath had spent his entire fortune finding it. He had sacrificed hundreds of followers exploring its corridors. He had decoded just enough of its systems to understand what it could do. The weapon could ignite stars. It could turn any sun into a bomb, destroying everything in its system. One command from Drath and Earth's sun would explode. Humanity would die in fire. He sent his message to the Galactic Senate. Surrender the humans, or watch them burn. The Senate received the message with horror. They had seen the ancient texts. They knew the architects had created terrible weapons before they vanished. If Drath really had found one, billions would die. Ambassador Quan called an emergency meeting with his team. We'd have to stop him, he said simply. Captain Taiho nodded. My team is ready. Understand what this means? Quan said. If you fail, Earth dies. If you succeed, the galaxy will see exactly what awakened humans can do when they are not holding back. I know. And you are willing to take that risk? Taiho looked at his team. Lieutenant Hannah, who had walked through fire without burning. Sergeant Dongwu, who could speak words that made weapons stop working. The others, each carrying their own terrible gifts. We are the failsafe, Taiho said. This is what we were made for. They left within the hour. The journey took 3 days. Their ship was small and fast, designed for missions like this. During the journey, the team prepared themselves. They meditated. They practiced their abilities. They said goodbye to the people they loved. Just in case Hannah found Dongwu, sitting alone in the cargo bay, staring at nothing. Are you afraid? She asked. He thought about it. No, I am ready. I have been ready my whole life. He looked at her. What about you? I am afraid of losing myself, she admitted. When I fully awaken, when I let all the power out, it is hard to remember who I am. I become something else. Something that thinks in patterns instead of words, that sees the universe as energy flows instead of objects. Dongwu reached out and took her hand. Then I will remind you. That is what teammates are for. Anna smiled. Thank you. They arrived at the dead system. The ancient weapon hung in space like a metal moon, dark and terrible. Droth's ship was docked on its surface, surrounded by the remains of his fleet. The humans did not try to hide. They flew straight toward the weapon, broadcasting their presence for everyone to see. Drath's voice crackled over the radio. So the humans come to surrender. Smart. Very smart. Taiho's response was calm. We are not here to surrender. We are here to stop you, after you. 6 people against a weapon that can destroy stars? You are brave, I will give you that. But bravery does not stop extinction, we will see. The human ship landed on the weapon's surface. The team emerged into the vacuum of space, protected by their abilities rather than suits. They walked across the ancient metal like ghosts. Unaffected by cold or radiation or the absence of air, Drat watched them approach through the weapon sensors. He was not worried. He had already activated the firing sequence. In 1 hour, Earth's sun would explode. The humans could not stop him. But as the minutes passed, something strange began to happen. The weapon was shaking. Not from external impacts, but from inside. The humans had entered its core. And they were doing something that Drath did not understand. Captain Taiho stood in the heart of the weapon. It was a room filled with energy conduits, all leading to a single central point. The power contained here was unimaginable, enough to ignite a star, enough to destroy a solar system. "This is it," Taiho said to his team. "We cannot destroy this weapon. It is too well built, but we can absorb its power, take it into ourselves." Hannah's face was pale. "That much energy could kill us all," as Taiho admitted. "It could." Dongwu stepped forward. "Then we do it together. Share the load. Keep each other human." One by one, the team joined hands. They formed a circle around the central power point. They opened themselves to the energy flowing through the weapon. It was like drinking the ocean. Power flooded into them. Their bodies glowed with light too bright to look at. Their minds expanded beyond anything they had experienced before. For a moment, they were not 6 people. They were one being, connected by the energy flowing through them. Hannah felt herself dissolving. The patterns were taking over. She was losing her name, her memories, her identity. She was becoming pure energy, pure potential, pure Hannah. Dongwu's voice cut through the chaos. He was still holding her hand. His grip was real, solid, human. "Remember who you are. Remember why we fight? Remember." She focused on his voice, on the feeling of his hand in hers, on the faces of her teammates, struggling alongside her. She was Yoon Hana. She was a daughter, a friend, a guardian. She was human. The energy stabilized. Slowly, carefully, the team began to bleed off the power they had absorbed. They released it into empty space, transforming it from deadly radiation into harmless light. The weapon went dark around them. The countdown to Earth's destruction stopped. Drath watched in horror as his ultimate weapon became useless. He tried to escape, but his ship would not start. The engines had been disabled by Dongwu's words during the approach. He was trapped. The humans came for him. They walked through the empty corridors of the dead weapon, their eyes still glowing faintly with the energy they had consumed. Drath fired at them with every weapon he had. Nothing worked. The bullets curved away. The energy beams scattered. His blades passed through them like they were made of smoke. Captain Taiho stopped in front of him. The warlord who had tried to destroy Earth stood trembling, his weapons useless in his hands. "Please," Drath said. "Please do not kill me." Taiho looked at him for a long moment. Then he reached out and gently took the weapons from Drath's hands. "We are not going to kill you," he said. "We are going to take you back to face justice. That is what peace looks like. They returned to Harmony Prime as heroes. The Galactic Senate held a ceremony in their honor. High Delegate Vorn, who had once mocked the unarmed humans, personally presented them with medals. But more important than the ceremony was what happened after. A new treaty was signed. They called it the Covenant of Quiet Strength. Humans agreed to limit the number of awakened individuals who could leave Earth. They promised to never use their full potential as a weapon of war. In exchange, humanity was granted protected status and a permanent seat on the Security Council. It was not perfect. Fear still existed. Suspicion still lingered. But it was progress. Ambassador Quan stood at a reception after the signing. Advisor Pella floated beside him. Her tentacles relaxed for the first time in months. "I have a question," Pella said. "Your species has so much power. You could rule the galaxy if you wanted. Why choose peace?" Quan smiled. It was the same gentle smile he always wore. "Because we remember what we were before we awakened," he said. "Afraid. Fragile. Hoping that someone stronger would show us kindness. We will be what we wished for." Pela thought about that for a long time. Across the room, Captain Taiho stood by a window. A young alien child, no bigger than his knee, had wandered away from her parents and approached him with curiosity. "Are you a human?" she asked. "Yes, I am. My mother says humans are dangerous." "Can be," Taiho admitted. "When we need to protect the people we love." Hey, the child thought about this. "Why don't you carry a weapon like the other guards?" Taiho knelt down to her level. He held out his hand and a small flower grew from his palm. Petals unfolded in impossible colors, created from nothing but will and energy. Because I would rather make things grow, he said. He offered her the flower. She took it with wide eyes, then ran back to show her parents. Taiho watched her go. Lieutenant Hannah appeared beside him. That was kind, she said. We need more kindness in this galaxy, Taiho replied. More wonder, more beauty. That is why we choose peace. Not because we are weak, but because we have seen what strength without kindness looks like. We will be different, Hannah nodded. Do you think they will ever truly accept us? Taiho looked out at the stars. Billions of worlds. Trillions of beings. All of them now knew the truth about humanity. All of them were watching to see what humans would do next. Maybe, he said. Maybe not. But we will keep choosing peace anyway. Every day, every moment. Because that is who we are. Outside the window, the galaxy turned slowly. Stars were born, and stars died. Empires rose and fell. And in the middle of it all, one small species carried a power that could destroy everything. They chose not to use it. And that choice, made fresh every single day, was the greatest gift they could offer. The end.